Hey everyone, Vince here from the Delaware Podcast. Wanted to kind of get a video going for Monday tomorrow. It's Sunday evening. Um, just about to go eat dinner. Kind of wanted to sit down and chat with you about a subject that was kind of brought to my attention that I felt was a really good topic by Rodgy the Retrogamer. He's one of the guys that's in the running for the YouTuber of the Month with me. Really cool dude. I enjoy his content, and I actually really enjoyed this video. He was talking about how, what he collects and why, and he went into his kind of his gaming journey and just memories. Really entertaining video. Helped me get through my week. It's been really busy at work, and a lot of changes coming down the pipe, and I definitely need something to get my mind off all that. But for those that are new to the channel, I wanted to kind of give you my gaming history and things like that, and a little bit of glimpse of me talking about what I collect, what I'm into, because I'm not just a retro gamer. I'm an all general gamer. I like everything from handheld PC to the modern console to retro. I love just gaming in general, even tabletops, RPGs, different board games, card games. It's all the same to me, and I love doing it with my friends. I love playing games with my family, all that stuff. It's always been a great time. Kind of my life has been filled with this stuff. We grew up with my dad, raising me and my sister, being a single parent, working 1 to 2 jobs sometimes, trying to make ends meet to take care of us. But when we were on the weekends, he was there. He'd get down on the floor and play games with us. We'd role play Dungeons and Dragons, the Marvel Superheroes game. We did that one for a lot. Rifts, and then we go to the arcades all the time, and just everybody would always hang out at my dad's house. I'd have friends come over, and they'd be amazed by the stuff that my dad had on the walls. I grew up with posters everywhere and toys on the shelves and movies and Star Trek and Star Wars. So it was always fun, and always something, kind of a conversation starter for those that came over. But when we got the NES, I was maybe 5 or 6, so like it was either 86 or 87 when we officially got it. My Uncle Roger got it for my sister for Christmas. I have no clue what he got me. I'm pretty sure a G.I. Joe vehicle, maybe the Mobile Command Center or something. But it was, I don't remember. I just don't remember what I got. But that became my system. I think we got Mario with it, and then eventually we started getting other games, but we rented a lot of stuff. Being a single parent home, you're just kind of at the whim of what the funds are available. My dad took care of us. We never had to starve or anything like that. We always had good clothes, and he taught us to be frugal about our things and our money. So we took care of our toys, took care of our movies and games, because there's not a chance that probably we would get it again. But as most kids, we only got video games on the holidays or our birthday, and then on special occasions, or if maybe I did some stuff around like my family's homes, or mowed lawns. That was always fun. But then I'd get games, and I would just kind of collect them. But just a lot of fond memories with the NES, and playing Castlevania 1 and 2 with my dad and finishing both, playing through Contra multiple times with my friends, and then what else? Both Zelda games. I mean, we were on that path of just playing about everything that we could, and it really had to catch our eye with the box art. But eventually we ended up moving over to the Super Nintendo. Before we got the Genesis, we ended up trading our NES. I kept my Contra and Blaster Master, but when we got the Genesis, it was because one of the guys at my dad's work was selling it. So he bought it off him with a couple games. We got Sonic and Altered Beast, Kid Chameleon, was it Joe Montana Sports Talk Football, which I tried to play it, but I was never a big football fan. Neither was my sister. We were all about the Astros and we were all about the Rockets. So give me NBA Live or something like that, I'd play it, but not football. But yeah, it was always fun. And then we had a PC, and then I ended up getting what was it? Into Shining Force because a friend of ours was into RPGs as well. And actually that's what the thing is like I kind of got into RPGs heavily because I wanted to have the experience of role playing like we did. We didn't always get to do it every weekend. We were, sometimes we'd just go to the park and we would, do water gun fights and with water grenades or water balloon grenades. We wouldn't do Nerf gun fights because that was not something we did, but we would fight with wooden swords, katanas, or the bokens and things like that. We just had, fun time growing up. And it was cool because I had a real set of niche of friends that, were gamers. And then eventually I got them into anime, and slowly as I went to middle school and high school, I kind of got more friends and I got introduced them to anime and all that stuff. So I was kind of in all this stuff. I never had a break from it, and I never wanted to. It was the things that brought me joy. I never felt alone or alienated by the things I liked. And I think I made more friends than I did enemies because of those things. And getting into the PlayStation era, that was I think really when I really started to be heavily into gaming. Final Fantasy VII, and Metal Gear Solid, Suikoden, Breath of Fire 3. Oh man, there's so many games I could list. But yeah, PlayStation was heavily. I was a fanboy. I mean, we had just about most systems. I mean, we never had a Neo Geo or a 3DO or the Turbo Graphics, but the main ones that people could get a hold of, we were there. We either had somebody or knew someone who had it, and then we got it secondhand, or we ended up buying the system. So, and it's funny because that's the same way with the Atari Jaguar. My dad's best friend told him, okay, hey man, if you split this with me, let's get it, because it had that Alien vs. Predator game. That game is amazing. I wish that game would get ported over. That and then Tempest 2000. That's how I came to love that game even more, because Tempest is one of my dad's favorite games. And then of course you had Cybermorph, the Pac-In game. Where did you learn to fly? That game was so frustrating. I don't know why. Waste of a cartridge. But the funny thing is that was the only two games we got. Was Tempest 2000 and Alien vs. Predator. And then, a lot of my gaming journey was centered around Star Wars for a while. We got a bunch of the Star Wars games on the PC. We ended up getting the Sega CD mainly for Rebel Assault, and then we played the Star Wars chess. And but then we ended up getting what was it? Shadow of the Dragon. We had a buddy that had Awful Mail. That was a fun game. That game, I wish I could have, even if it was just a reproduction disc of it. I'd still love to have it. But yeah, and then we branched into, we never got a 32X. We ended up renting it from Blockbuster, I believe, just to play the Star Wars arcade game on there. And I think that was about it. That's the only thing we played on there. And then I ended up trading my Super Nintendo in with most of my games. I kept my Chrono Trigger because that's my favorite game of all time, of course. I kept my Final Fantasy 3. I think I kept my Super Star Wars games and the Indiana Jones one that they did. But everything else I traded in so I could get a Saturn. And then I had a buddy, Sam, introduced me to a guy that had just graduated prior to me going to high school, and he had a bunch of games to sell for the Saturn, and a couple of the ones on that would have been like Panzer Dragoon Saga, not Panzer Dragoon Saga, damn it, I wish it was Saga. No, Panzer Dragoon Zwei, and then Tomb Raider, of course. Oh, come on, what was the other two? I'm not gonna remember right now. Daytona USA and something else. I think Virtual Fighter 2. But and then my grandmother got me Shining Force 3, which I wish I still had. It's one of the games I do want to buy. I know it's expensive, but it has some sentimental value, and I wish I didn't trade it in. That was the biggest thing, is like when you don't have the disposable income when you're younger, you trade stuff in, and then you regret it later. I did that for a lot of things, and it's just part of life. You don't know any better, and you're always looking at the new thing, so you're willing to let go of something that's important to you for a short-time fix, and then hopefully you kept on to that. But I don't know. I think what it was is like right when Hollywood Video decided to do the whole Game Crazy thing. For those who don't know, Hollywood Video was a video rental chain here in the States, very similar to Blockbuster. And they decided to open up their own game store called Game Crazy. And I heard about it in my junior year. No, not my junior year, my sophomore year. And then I ended up starting working there during my junior year. But when I went over there, I ended up like just amazed at all the stuff over there, and traded in my Saturn and my stuff. And I got me some stuff for the PlayStation that I wanted to get, some RPGs. And then I just hounded the manager over there. I was like, "Hey man, I want to work here. Let me put my application. Come on, let me work here." Finally, he hits me up and goes, "Hey man, put your application in. We'll do an interview." Passed the interview, got the job. Loved the job. Had some great people I worked with. Met some new friends through it. Had some really great experiences. And it's just like, I'm looking at those games now that are super expensive. I know that were there at my shop, and you just didn't know. But yeah, and so I was there when the Dreamcast came out, and the what else? The PS2, and I went into high school. I went into my senior year and graduated, and then started going to college. So I think I left the job just right before I went to my senior year. Jeez, sorry guys. So much information I'm trying to pump out here. But yeah, so we ended up getting the N64 not till Zelda came out, Ocarina of Time. And we had a few games for that. I wasn't a fan of the direction of Mario. I enjoyed the game later on, but when it first came out, I was a big Super Mario World fan. And I felt that Mario didn't work well going into 3D. I don't know, just something about that game rubbed me the wrong way. Maybe it was because Luigi wasn't a playable character. I have no clue. But I was heavily a Sony fan. I was on that bandwagon of Sony's the best and everything else is garbage, except for the Super Nintendo. I never had a Dreamcast, but we borrowed the Dreamcast from my buddy Jose all the time to play like different games. One of them was Code Veronica, and just gaming was a big part of my life growing up. So any system I had, I would usually just start accumulating games and collecting for them, and then I would display them, really nice. And so then my friends would come over like, "Hey, can I borrow this?" And yeah, and I'd always get my stuff back. I never lost anything except for one instance, and I'll talk about that in another in a podcast that we're going to do eventually here. But we, just kind of followed the trend. Even like I got my PS2 first day. I had when I worked at Game Crazy, I had put my name down as for a pre-order, and when I worked there, so then I just got the call to go up there, and my dad went up and picked it up for me. I had the system. He was like, "Yeah, you should trade this in, or sell this, so we can make triple the amount." I was like, "No, Dad, I want the system." And I had already picked up Tekken Tag and the Street Fighter EX game that came out for it. And then I think that weekend we had the big PS2 party. It was such a different time. I miss those days. My friends were always over. It was always about just hanging out, gaming, talking about movies and things, and it's I've always collected. I just don't think I know a time when I didn't. Even if it was like I wasn't buying a whole lot, maybe I was just buying a game a month. You do that for a couple of years, you got 24 games right there. Plus you have the deals, and then I think I was rocking the PS2 all the way up until till Gears of War came out, or Dead Rising, one of the two, for the 360. And at that time, that was the reason why I jumped over. And I waited till I got my tax return, picked up the original 360, picked up Gears of War, picked up Dead Rising, and then picked up the Lord of the Rings tactical game they had. And I enjoyed it. And then, I was introduced to all the Xbox Live Arcade games. I got hooked into the whole achievement hunting. Man, that's a whole story. And eventually we ended up getting the PS3, which I wanted, but that we ended up having stolen from us back in 2009. We went to my dad's for Thanksgiving, and his cousin was with us at the time. Some two guys kicked in our back door, stole my TV and the PS3, and in I had a drawer underneath the TV that had like all my memory cards in it and controllers. And luckily they didn't touch any of my games, none of my movies, none of my figures. They tried to get my PS2, and they took off. And I just remember I was just like, man, I'm glad I grabbed my 360. But I never got it back. I never got that. I ended up getting the white slim PS3 later on, but I think I borrowed my wife's cousin Sean's PS3 for a little while until I could get another one. But yeah, gaming has been a big part of my life, and I collecting. Besides that, I've collected toys forever, between G.I. Joes to Star Wars figures. Of course, right over here, you got the Star Wars Black Series. But before that, it was the regular, the vintage style, not vintage style. It's called vintage now, but the 3 3/4 figure line that they did, the Power of the Force and onward. Even when they went into like the Clone Wars and Revenge of the Sith and all that stuff, I was collecting those figures. And then, but I've always collected Transformers. I think the only time I stopped kind of doing that was when they were doing the whole Energon and the Cybertron figures. They were cool. I'd pick up a few, but there were a lot of characters I just couldn't connect to. If it wasn't, I watched the show, of course, but if it wasn't the original crew from G1 or later in the later seasons and in Beast Wars, I just wasn't on board. And then when the Masterpiece figures came out, I was that first 25th anniversary Optimus Prime that was like this big. That thing is amazing. I just remember watching the reveal for Comic-Con that year. And the thing was so epic and beautiful. And it's like when I got it in hand, I was just like, oh my gosh, this is so great. And then they did the whole alternators line, so I have most of those. Those figures are great. And then they ended up doing the classics line, which was them doing a retool modern style versions of Transformers from G1, and then I've just been collecting ever since. And I love them; they're great. great articulation, great. I mean, there's some things here and there. You know, you've got the there's some holes in the figures, you know, because they're kind of cheaping it out on the plastics. They're not filling in some of the gaps. So, you know, you have gaps in the arms, you have gaps in the legs. Here's a good example, right? Well, actually, here. So, like, here's Blaster. This is from the Legacy line. Also, they did for the Kingdom. But if you look at his, look at that. There's just this no gap. I mean, there's no like cover it up. Even in the back of the legs, you know, there's just these holes. But man, these figures are just great. I mean, this looks, and the way this transforms is just like the original G1 version. But yeah, I love this stuff. It just this is like pure gold to me. And yeah, I'm loving the fact I get to share this with my son. It makes my collecting journey more meaningful. For me, why I collect is because it brings me back to my past. It helps me connect to the memories of my brain. I can literally look at something, I can look at this and remember watching the movie with my dad and then crying because Optimus Prime died. Or playing with these with my friends. I don't have sentimental value to like the vintage figures. I mean, this looks more like it did in the cartoon than, you know, the version of him that I have that's the G1 version. And I still like having that stuff, but I guess I'm a nostalgic collector. And I can look at something and remember where I was. I can look at things and remember what I smelled at the time, the feeling I had inside when I was playing a game or watching a movie, and the joy, that thrill. You know, especially like when you open up a game and you've got like, let me grab this real quick. This right here is my original copy for Final Fantasy VII. You know, getting this at EV Games and being like, oh my gosh, this is so awesome. You know, taking off the plastic and just can't wait to get home and put it in my PlayStation and play it. And I miss those times. I still get the excitement now because there's so many great games. And I know that when Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2 comes out, I'm going to be even more ecstatic that game's, because we're going to get to see more of this masterpiece right here redone. And it makes me feel young. I mean, even though I got the grays that are coming in, and, you know, grays up here, and a lot of that's, you know, from my job. It's, you know, the stress of being a parent, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. And I'm, you know, gaming's even more a big part of my life because I played Final Fantasy 11 for a long time. So Final Fantasy 11, of course, was online. I think I was only like a couple months behind when it first came out because I was waiting to build up enough money in my check to be able to get a PC to play it. But that's how I met my wife. Gaming, you know, is such a big part of my life. I don't know what I would do without it. It's helped me get through a lot of stress, and of course it brought the love of my life. You know, my son, you know, he's named after a video game character. You know, he's Edward Dante. I mean, you know, he's Edward Elric from basically named after Edward Elric from Full Metal Alchemist, and his middle name is Dante from Devil May Cry. I mean, my wife is okay with this. And, you know, I love getting to watch him play games. I love getting to spend time with him. Like yesterday, we played Kill It With Fire, and we got all the achievements and just had a really great time. And then today, before I jumped on here to record, we were playing Minecraft Dungeons. And, you know, I'm trying to find time to fit in my gaming, but it's just so much fun getting to play with him and getting to share this joy and love with him and pass that torch onto the next generation. So for me, that's why I collect. It used to be because I liked looking at this stuff. I don't collect because, you know, I do it to show off. I do it because this is what brings me joy. It makes me happy. You know, I don't, no matter how hard it is outside my front door and how life is can be difficult and crippling, I know that I can come home, see my son and my wife and be happy, and then I have all this other amazing stuff around me, and then I get to spend time with them, enjoying it, as well as, you know, with my friends. We usually do game night every so often. We'll play board games. We'll have a fighting game night, or you know, some beat 'em ups, 4 players or something, and we're just always having a good time. We'll barbecue for sure, but it's fantastic. I love it. Now, it can be a double-edged sword, and you have to be careful because you could put yourself in financial debt. You shouldn't do that. You know, but what's great is that if I need to, I can sell this stuff and I can get it back, and I can pull myself out of a hole if I ever got into one. But, you know, I try not to overstretch myself. But yeah, I mean, what else do I collect besides toys and games? I love anime. I'm a big anime Blu-ray collector. A lot of my stuff, of course, is 70s, 80s, and 90s, with a few things in the 2000s. And there's a few things here and there for new series that I enjoy. But I love collecting movies. I'm a big movie fan, big movie buff. I love soundtracks. I collect vinyl soundtracks for video games and movies. I don't collect much music soundtracks. I mean, not music soundtracks, but I don't collect much music vinyl-wise. Maybe if it's like a really big, you know, if it's an album that stuck out to me, like, you know, I'm a Depeche Mode fan, so maybe that album, Violator, or the Gorillaz. I have the Plastic Beach and the one before that one, Demon Days, or I can't remember. My brain's not here. But you know, but I do love listening to music. I love all of that. I mean, I love collecting art books. I love to be able to draw. I mean, I love to draw when I can, but I just collect things that remind me of my past and what make me happy. And that's how I feel people should collect. You know, I don't necessarily have to have a complete collection of things. I just, you know, collect the things that bring me joy. And if I feel that I want to collect that stuff, I'll continue to. Some of the toy stuff I collect, I love collecting the NECA Turtles. I enjoy the NECA movie figures they're doing, like The Thing and They Live and the Terminator stuff, Aliens. I love Lego. Lego's one of my biggest things. I love the Star Wars Lego stuff. I love the fact that they're doing Transformers right now. I love the BrickHeads. You know, I love all that stuff, as long as it's Star Wars. I mean, unless there's like certain things here and there. Like I've gotten the Nintendo NES one they did with the TV, and I got my wife the question block, and that was fun building that with her. And actually, we just picked up about 3 weeks ago the Sonic one. I'm actually going to build that and maybe do a video with my son and kind of review it with him, so you know, we can see it from a kid's perspective. You know, what he enjoys about Lego building. But yeah, I mean, I'm rambling here, but there's just a lot of things that I enjoy that are important to me, and I want to share that joy with you guys. And you know, I know that I may be opinionated about certain things, especially modern Star Wars. You know, definitely with the sequel trilogy. But I mean, I enjoy Mandalorian. I enjoy the Book of Boba Fett. I don't know how I feel about Kenobi, and I don't want to get into too much of that until we do the episode where we kind of discuss the overall series. But there's a lot to talk about, and I feel that the characterizations of the established characters are not up to par. And yeah, we'll go deeper into that when that happens. But yeah, but I mean, I love a lot of things. And I want to share that joy and tell the stories that what I went through. My son's complaining over here. I got to go check on what's going on. He's probably playing with one of his friends, but thanks for taking the time, guys, to listen to me as I ramble on about my journey into gaming and collecting and things like that. I need to go in depth a little bit more probably, but if you need to, check out my podcast. There's tons of stuff, and I'm working to expand some of that to bring on some more guests and interview some people. I think it'll be fun. I have been bringing on some of my friends that are within the YouTube community as well as people that I know, and just kind of bring up topics that are going to be relevant to them, that they're going to have some kind of knowledge base in, because I don't want to bring them on and we start talking about like things they don't know. I don't want to put them on the spot. And I think, us working together and, collaborating, we'll go far, and I hope so. But yeah, everyone have a great one for this week. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please let me know down below, what do you collect? Why do you collect? What's like maybe something that's important in your collection that you feel is the best thing? Like, it just brings you the most joy. And try to stay cool this summer. And I'll see you next video. Have a great one.